This episode of the Beauty Industry podcast was brought to you by Vital Plus. Hello and welcome to the Beauty Industry podcast, your online support community for the professional beauty industry. I am your host, founding director of Beauty Industry, Tamara Reid. Here we are closing the competitive gap and speaking your language. This is a platform created and dedicated to the professional beauty industry, valuing community over competition. We serve to help connect you with inspiration from industry experts, expand your knowledge through educational pieces, and bring you the latest in product and technology innovation. This is Beauty Industry. Today, our guests are Nick Wallen and Linda Russell, founders of JooMo, in conversation with Lashana Shepherd. I am sure by now most of you have heard the word microbiome. Our gut microbiome is the collective of microbes inhabiting the gut, including bacteria, viruses, and fungi. But what does that mean and why is it important? And are there other microbiomes inhabiting our body that are equally important too? Well, today we sit down with Nick and Linda, founders of JooMo, an award-winning, truly natural cosmetics range that focuses on your skin's microbiome as the key to beautiful skin. Having worked at some of the UK's leading semiconductor and food research centres with a background in chemistry, microelectronics and IT, Manchester University graduate Nick Wallen co-created JooMo to answer the paradox of why over the last 100 years there's been such a large increase in problem skin across the wealthy developed world. His research led him to the disturbing conclusion that artificial chemicals in everyday cosmetics could be a primary concern. Further research showed that these synthetic ingredients were linked with altering the skin's natural ecosystem, and alarmingly, how many so-called natural cosmetics contain these potentially disruptive additives too. Linda Russell had been an avid user of various so-called natural skin lotions and creams for years, but developed horrible skin problems on her face that she couldn't seem to get rid of. Medical specialists prescribed steroidal creams, antifungals, and even antibiotics that only seemed to make the situation worse, and over-the-counter antiseptic creams, expensive herbal ointments, and balms from online niche skincare companies that didn't help either. The frightening thought that the use of her everyday cosmetics could be making her skin problems worse led to the creation of JooMo. By excluding all artificial ingredients and enhancing the skin's microbiome, JooMo has allowed Linda and people around the world to rediscover their natural, beautiful skin. From JooMo, today we welcome Nick and Linda. Here they are.
Well, good evening for me and good morning for Nick and Linda. How are you both?
We're very well indeed, and all the better for being here, Lashana.
Yeah, excited about this podcast.
We are.
Oh, well, the feeling is mutual. We are very happy to have you, and thank you for giving up your morning for us. You know, here in lovely Melbourne, it's evening and the sun is now setting, but for you guys, it's what, 8 a.m. in the morning?
It's 8 a.m. but
it's very un-British weather, isn't it?
And it's actually brilliant weather for a change.
Yeah,
so
not sure we can compete with Melbourne.
we can't compete with you, so we won't try. But we're enjoying a bit of unusual British sunshine.
Oh, that's lovely. Well, Melbourne isn't always the best, so I think I can relate. No, it's sometimes we get 5 seasons in a day. We'll get rain in the morning, hot in the afternoon, back to cloud. It goes all over the place. So I think I can sympathise with that one. Now, we start every single episode taking everyone way back to where it started and how our guests entered the beauty industry. So how did you guys come to find your way into this amazing, magical career?
Yeah,
I think finding our way or stumbling into it is probably a better way to put it.
I think probably to answer the question or not answer it directly is the usual way I do think so. I think I take a very sort of stereotypical male line on the beauty industry. Basically, I just never understand how it can be so complicated. Okay. Now I think the important thing to say here is, we both personally always put a huge emphasis on looking good and feeling good. I would say vanity is something that has been absolutely key in our lives, and I would say probably in my early youth, not now, a tiny bit of narcissism even. But anyway, let's move on. But I think the important thing to say here is, we're not sort of people who think that we're not the no wash brigade, hippie sort of new agey stuff. Okay, we've always put a huge emphasis on looking good and feeling good. Yeah. I think the main point, just while I'll let Linda take over, is I think what I never quite understood about the industry is that, whereas people like us have been obsessive about what we eat and what we take in terms of food, and other people do the same. In terms of the sort of the cosmetics and beauty industry, people didn't seem to really worry about what they actually put all over their skin. They seem quite happy to put on all sorts of unpleasant synthetic chemicals all over their skin, which is something that we really, as we're hopefully going to talk about a bit later, could never understand.
Yeah. I mean, I think, as Nick says, we've always been, well, obsessive perhaps is too strong a word, no. quite careful about our whole body health and fitness. We love it, including not just playing sport, but what we put inside our bodies, what we eat, and also what we put on our bodies. So I think really it comes down to the fact that our belief's always been nothing looks more beautiful than natural, healthy skin. And as Nick said, we could never understand why, well, this is the developed world actually. People in the developed world needed to use so many different sorts of cosmetic products. And I say that actually as an avid user in the past of cosmetics, but always thinking I was using natural things.
Yeah, that's right. And I think, as I hope we'll discuss later, okay, is why so many cosmetics are being used. I think is because, as we'll touch on later, it's because many everyday cosmetics, as our research has shown, are actually damaging the skin. So what happens is that you apply, say, some sort of everyday cosmetic, and then that does something to the skin, which means you need moisturizers and makeup, and then to cover it up for the problem that is happening. And to use an analogy, I've always thought it's a bit like the nursery rhyme about the old lady who swallowed a fly.
I don't know if you know that one.
I do, actually.
Oh, wow.
There was an old lady who swallowed a fly.
Swallowed a fly. I don't know why she swallowed a fly. Perhaps she'll die.
She swallowed a spider. Anyway,
it goes on and on.
It goes on and on and on.
I think Lashana wins the prize.
I think, yeah.
I do like my nursery rhymes.
Absolutely.
I agree.
Hugely impressed. So she had to swallow a spider to catch the fly, and a bird to catch the spider, however it goes on. Okay, and that's how we sort of see cosmetics, where you're using these chemicals on your skin, which harm the skin, which then you need something else to then deal with that. So. I mean, we should answer the question actually. How do we get to the beauty industry?
So you can see by all the waffling that it was that it was actually accidental. I mean, like many things, it was born of a personal experience and problem, and I cause problems and Nick solves them. That seems to be the general pattern. So like many companies starting up, we saw a problem and we wanted to problem cause solution. We wanted to find a solution for my skin problems, and I think really that's how we fell into the beauty industry. And we're actually, so as you see, we're both complete outsiders. We can discuss that more later, but it probably means maybe that's good in some ways. We can see things that insiders fail to spot, and maybe I'm sure it has disadvantages as well, but we found it, in terms of the way we think, possibly it's been an advantage. So there we are. We have nothing to do with the beauty industry, really.
No, I think that's a fabulous answer. And look, most people do get into the industry, and I know I did for myself, from my own, not vanity, but my own issues and what I was seeing with my skin and my own experiences. And that seems to be something that we see quite commonly across the board, people either having family members with eczema, and then it sparks this passion in them that makes them want to explore that further. And it's quite common for people to look at their own lives and go, oh, what does my life need? What can I see? And that passion and that interest kind of grows from there. So it's not uncommon, and often it's very accidental.
It is. And also, just as you say, Lashana, I think if you have a problem yourself, you suddenly find out, well, lots of other people have the same problem. So if I can help mine, I can help other people. And I think as people who've always, if it doesn't sound too prissy, are really interested in doing something to help, that was what was really exciting and appealing to us as well.
Amazing. And I loved that you talked about the inside out wellness, which we're going to go into quite in depth in this podcast. But you're right, there has been, and I've seen it as I've grown up, this massive shift of what are we putting in our body. And I think we've been a little bit slower in the beauty industry to look at what we're putting on our skin, but it's starting to come around. And we're starting to combine the two as well. We're starting to look at how does what I put in my body affect what is going on with my skin, and it's all coming through in swings and roundabouts.
Exactly, it's the idea of whole body, isn't it?
And one thing I'll just sort of interject there as well is you are quite right, the way you put it, Lashana, but very interesting enough, and there's a lot of research at the moment saying that what you put on your skin actually affects things within your body as well. So it's not just the gut that can affect the skin can actually affect the gut. And there's been really recent interesting bit of research which shows that a lot of, say, food allergies can actually be caused about skin sensitization. So yes, you're spot on there.
I think it's a two-way channel, isn't it?
Absolutely.
I mean, I think we've all heard of the gut microbiome, and I don't know about Australia, but here we've been bombarded in the past with, good bacteria, bad bacteria. Eat yogurt, it'll be good for your gut, and all this going out the way. But as Nick says, the skin and the effect it has on the gut and the other parts of the microbiome, it's a system, and it's all, it's, as we see it, it's all interlinked. And that's the beauty of it, really, isn't it?
Absolutely.
Talking about beauty.
It's a bit of a pun there. You're right. No, I heard the other day it was something like 60% of what you put on your skin reaches all of your body's cells. Which is, 60% is huge.
It's terrifying, isn't it? It's huge.
That's really interesting statistics. I've heard
very
interesting. It just goes to show why you should really, really backs up what we've always felt. You've got to be so careful about what you're doing with your skin.
Absolutely.
No, definitely.
Absolutely. So tell us a little bit about the, and I will probably get your name wrong or just say it in a very strong Australian accent, but is it JooMo? Is that how you pronounce it? Perfect. Amazing.
Your pronunciation is perfect.
Oh, good. JooMo. How did that come to be? How did that come alive for you both? Was it a light bulb moment where you decided that was something that you wanted to create, or how did that come to be?
Yeah. Well, I think I'd better start because I'm the problem. I'll start off here. I mean, you covered this really well in your introduction, I think, Lashana. A few years back, this is how it started. As we were saying, I developed horrible skin problems for no reason, out of the blue, mainly in my face. Debilitating, sore, painful. I couldn't get rid of it. And as you said, actually, too, I tried absolutely everything from over-the-counter creams to natural so-called products to slightly niche, strange products to cure it. And finally, I went along the medical route, which was, you probably know this, things like antibiotics being prescribed, antifungals, topical steroid cream in the end. But absolutely nothing worked, and in fact it was getting worse. So I did feel very desperate, and that's what makes me have great sympathy with anyone with skin problems. In the end, this is the moment I spoke with Nick's dad, who's actually a doctor, a very forward-thinking one, I should say, and he remembered the only effective advice his own mother was given for a skin problem years ago was to stop using anything, and that included soaps. So I did that, and that was a kind of, I think, a big change in that moment to stop all products.
Yeah, that's right. It's rather interesting. Also, I'll just jump in again. I remember my father also had a story from the Second World War, when we had the story of how terribly burned airmen in the Second World War in the Battle of Britain. The ones who ditched in the sea suffered much less of the consequence of their burns than the unfortunate people who bailed out over land. Okay, and yet this seems very odd, really, because if you actually do analysis of 1 teaspoon of seawater, it contains millions of bacteria and sort of hundreds of millions of viruses. You know, so why on earth is seawater so successful in helping the skin? And it's been subsequently shown to be, when it's actually teeming with supposedly sort of unpleasant organisms. You know, and that's part of the story here, really. It's this curious paradox, you know, and this is what's really started me thinking about, could microbes actually be good for our skin? Okay, and this is what indirectly, so they led us to the science of the skin microbiome. Okay, and it's only when we started to look at the link between problem skin and the depleted skin microbiome that we began to understand Linda's problems more, didn't we?
Well, and that's one side of it, and that was our discovery of the skin microbiome and the whole science connected, which has been such a revelation to us, and which has really, you know, started us along that path. But at the same time, in parallel, this is a slightly negative thing, I really began to look at, scrutinize, in fact, so-called natural skin remedies, because although I'd used lots of natural products in the past, I'd never really looked at the labeling. It sounds a bit odd, but when I did, because of my own experience, I was actually horrified to find there was virtually nothing for sale that didn't contain synthetics and sometimes quite unpleasant sounding synthetic ingredients. And it seemed that the natural cosmetics industry was making people think they were using totally natural products, when in fact they weren't at all. And the natural cosmetics industry actually was also, we found out later, supported by various standards bodies which they belonged to. So it all seemed like a very cozy sort of world. Now, whether that was deliberate, whether it was, you know, it was certainly misleading, as I found. So I think these two things acted together.
So I think, well, the conclusion was that Linda had inadvertently, and me too actually, been inadvertently putting, you know, synthetic chemicals all over our bodies, and we didn't even realize it. We know, because they said natural products, we presumed that natural meant natural, but it didn't, did it?
Now, I think if I'd looked at the labeling, obviously, I would have known. So I started obsessively looking at labeling, and I think at that point the two things came together, and we were determined to change things. And because of our own requirement, and also our sons at the time, who were teenagers, were having the usual sort of, you know, teenage problems with skin, we decided that it must be possible to develop an effective face and body wash which was truly natural, not only to help my skin and our family's skin, but then all the other people with skin problems. So that's it in a nutshell.
So although the industry said it was impossible to do, well, as we hopefully talk about, we did it.
Amazing. I love hearing stories like that, where people see this gap in the market, whatever it might be. It might be for soy candles, bath wash. We recently spoke to someone the other day that does specific stickies for people that get their eyebrows laminated and microbladed, which is so niche. Wow. Yes. But it fills a need and a market. And I think we've all seen those quote unquote natural brands on the market. And it is until you read that label that you will notice that it's a false claim. And, you know, or we see 99.9% natural, but that 0.1% is horrendous, and it's full of alcohol and it's stress.
Exactly. Exactly. Yeah. And as Nick, I think you say this sometimes, well, you can't be really 99.9% natural. You're either natural or you're not. And if you have
you're
that
in it or you're not.
Exactly.
Absolutely. And it's the same applies to organic as well. People call them organic, and then they've got synthetic chemicals that, well, it's not organic. Either it is organic or it's not. And as I think maybe we'll talk about later, is what in the food industry, if you call something pure and natural, it's got to be pure and natural. There is no equivocation yet within the cosmetics industry, but that doesn't apply. And that's part of our remit, is to actually set the same standards for the cosmetics industry as they have around the world, including in Australia, for the food industry, about terms like pure and natural.
Absolutely. And it seems like a no-brainer, considering everything that you put on your skin has a pathway into the body. Why shouldn't the standard be the same?
Exactly. Definitely.
Yes, and the authorities, who regulate the cosmetics industry, I don't know why, but they just seem hesitant to do this. I don't know whether it's pressure from these huge organizations or what it is, but it seems such an easy thing to do.
Yeah,
I mean, products certainly seem to fall into several categories, don't they? Cosmetics, there are the ones with synthetics which make no claim to be anything else. So in fact, in a sense, at least they're being honest. And then there's the middle group, increasingly, when there was the move back to a little while back, wasn't there? Everyone wanted to be, including myself, to be natural. And there was a whole industry growing up around natural and organic products, calling themselves pure, natural, the power of plant. It was all very lovely sounding, but actually when you investigated, most of them weren't. There were some that were, but not really on the whole, they weren't.
Yes, not the water-based ones, yes.
Not water-based, certainly.
No, well, if you put it in water, well, that kind of undoes a lot of things when it comes to ingredients as well. Look, my background is with aesthetic technology, and we find very much the same thing as far as claims go. The argument of IPL versus laser, and if you actually understand what each is, you cannot say I'm blah, blah, blah laser clinic and have an IPL. They're very different technologies, but there's this fluidity in our industry where you're able to put certain labels on things that aren't always correct. And I don't know why that is.
Yes. No, I say that's not a part of the industry I'll be able to comment on, but no, you
that's interesting you say that, though, that it's the same there.
That's right. And it's really is something we actually are in the process of standing up a new standards body, which we hope, and we have invited other people to join. We know which is for honest labeling of cosmetic products. So it's something else we probably won't have time to talk about today, but it's something we are setting up.
Oh, it sounds very exciting. Please keep us in the loop and let us know when you have updates on that. That's fabulous. Now, part of being a fully natural range, you guys also focus on skin microbiome and making sure that your skincare keeps everything working in harmony and works synergistically with your skin's microbiome. What does make a microbiome enhancing skincare, or one that works in synergy with our microbiome?
Yes, it's extremely good question. I think probably the way I'll answer this is to say that it's a two-part process. Okay, I think part one, right? This is going to test me. Primum non nocere, Linda. Is that right?
Here's the Latin swap coming in. That's perfectly correct.
Primum non nocere. I've got it right. Yes. Okay. That basically means first do no harm, and the reason is that's I come from a medical family. Both my father and grandfather were both doctors, and first do no harm. It was a key part of their Hippocratic oath about what they should do and how they should act. Okay, so they don't do anything. The first thing to worry about is about causing more harm. And so in part one of to answer your question of a microbiome enhancing skincare product is first do no harm. So what we say is any skin microbiome friendly product must be 100% natural and preservative free, artificial preservative free, and using only natural ingredients that are taken from nature. And to go back to what we've talked about, okay, be careful. Many products are labeled natural, organic, often contain harsh synthetic ingredients that can actually, and these are the things which, again, a lot of research is showing is, and we'll probably hopefully come on to again, it is one of the reasons why we're getting, a suboptimal microbiome. So be careful. So do you want to take? Do you want to talk about that's part one of in skin? Do you want to
part one? On to part two. I'm allowed to do
the sequel.
Hold on to your hats.
After the break, the learning about the microbiome continues. But first, a word from today's beauty partner. Community, it is clear to say that long-term skin health is not only the Vital Plus passion, but too their obsession, rooted in the DNA from the very beginning when Jacqueline Gorbachar established Vital Plus. The team at Vital Plus believe that education creates better businesses, so Vital Plus offer extensive and flexible training options, both in salon and online, to help salons upskill and reach their full potential. Whether you're a startup or an established salon inspired to take your business to the next level as a big-hearted business, Vital Plus are there with a real person on the line ready to listen and happy to help. With no minimum opening order and no minimum monthly spend, Vital Plus make it easy to work with the best holistic skincare in Australia. To help celebrate their 30-year business anniversary, Vital Plus is offering 30% off your first order. And yes, you heard that correctly, that's 30% off your opening order, which does not come around too often, let me tell you. Head on over to vitalplus.com.au and use the code anniversary, that's anniversary, at the checkout to redeem this amazing offer on your cart. Thank you so much to the team at Vital Plus for making this episode of the Beauty Industry Podcast possible. And now, back to the conversation.
Well, the second part of skin microbiome enhancing, and this is a real revelation to me and so interesting, is biodiversity. You keep hearing this word now. In fact, it was brilliant for me to find out that this is echoed in every ecosystem. A healthy ecosystem is a biodiverse one. So this applies not only to the Amazon rainforest, but to, a tiny centimetre on year of skin. Only use cosmetics, in other words, that create an environment in the skin that allows the skin microbiome's biodiversity to flourish. And just to explain it, because it's such a key concept, our own research, which we did a few years back, showed that the only way to reliably measure the success and health of any ecosystem anywhere in nature is by measuring biodiversity, which is, goes back to the Amazon rainforest. Exactly the same applies to the human skin too. If it's biodiverse, it's going to be healthy. If you measure it and it's low in biodiversity, this is what we found, it's probably going to be unhealthy.
Exactly. So it's pretty unequivocal, really. So that if you have biodiverse skin microbiome, then you're likely to have healthy and beautiful skin. I often perhaps understand this a tiny bit more. Think about a garden. If you want to make things grow and increase biodiversity and the overall health and actually beauty of the garden, then you need to improve the condition of the soil. And just like a garden, we can improve the condition of our skin barrier in order that biodiversity can flourish. Okay, so if you have biodiverse skin, it will flourish. And using our mantra, okay, that healthy skin is beautiful skin, and that's why biodiversity is absolutely key for any product which wants to try and have optimal skin microbiome.
Absolutely. People forget that the surface of our skin is an ecosystem. For our barrier to function, we need that ecosystem. And most of our skin concerns and issues come from an ecosystem that's not operating properly. It's not functioning. Our barrier isn't functioning properly. Bacteria isn't being kept out of the skin. We've got, everything penetrating the way that it shouldn't penetrate. So it makes so much sense to me, everything that you're saying.
Yeah. And it's back actually to, Nick, you'll talk more about the microbiome and why it's important. This balance, it's all about systems in balance, really. That's the lovely thing to me. And that things getting out of balance isn't, so it's not really about good and bad bacteria as such. I mean, it's a simple way to explain it, isn't it? Just like the gut microbiome and the good and the bad bacteria, but it's not actually the complete truth, is it? In that things aren't inherently, most of the microbes, good or bad in themselves, but when they get out of balance, they take on a role that they wouldn't otherwise have and can become pathogenic.
So beneficial bacteria or microbes can become dangerous and pathogenic if they get out of balance. If biodiversity decreases, these microbes can then overwhelm everything else and then become damaging, and that's the sort of idea. And you can see that again if you say, we always use an analogy in our research of Yellowstone Park. They removed the walls and suddenly the deer just exploded and started destroying all the environment there. Okay, so deer aren't by themselves dangerous. In fact, they're very beneficial for the ecosystem when they're in the right numbers. When they explode in numbers, they're extremely damaging for the system. And the same applies, I say, right across nature, even down to the microbial level.
Absolutely. I love that analogy. I'm going to take that one. I'm going to take that for myself.
We've got lots more like that.
I'm an analogy girl, so keep them coming. I am. Everyone makes fun of me, but I like them.
I agree.
I'm exactly the same. My brain only works with analogies.
Yes. And it's a good pictorial way, isn't it? It's a nice way of explaining things. No, I agree with you, Lashana. I love it.
I think we're all visual learners here.
Yes. Yeah, exactly.
So let's now go into, I mean, we've touched on it a tad, but why is microbiome so important for our skin?
Yeah, well, actually, you've been doing our job for us just a few minutes ago there, Lashani. You sort of said it really well. I think you used an interesting statistic a bit earlier. I'll use another one. Is that in fact we are all just 40% human. The remaining 60% of us is alien, okay, which is rather alarming, I always think. Okay, so we're only 40% human. This 60% is your alien microbes, okay, and these microbes, I think you mentioned already, things like bacteria, fungi, etc., are your microbiome, and they live in and on your body, and to now answer the second part of your question, okay. They're really vital for our overall health, playing a key role in our body's protection and defense systems. Okay, and the interesting thing, is that these things, we're covered in these all the time. It's not that we seem obsessed in our hyper cleanliness culture. It has us believe that these bacteria are bad. We've talked about that already. And that antibacterial products help make us clean, but these microbes are essential. And whereas, there's been quite a lot of research talking about the gut, and the gut microbiome, how it's important to keep biodiversity of the gut, but your skin barrier is just as important too, and these microbes in your skin need to be cherished and nurtured, okay? But so I suppose the saying though, why is this understanding the microbiome so important? Who cares apart from us? And why does it matter? Is it just of academic interest? Okay, we've talked about how they're important for our bodies overall, but why do we get involved in this? We've talked about Linda's skin problems, but basically it's because they over the past 75 years, there's been a 500% rise in problem skin. And one of our roots into this was that this coincidentally mirrors the same timeline as the rise in use of synthetic chemical ingredients in everyday cosmetics. So we thought, is this coincidence? Or could there actually be a link?
And we'll leave that question mark.
I think it's a very easy link to make, because we look at how many more people have allergies now, for example, and to things that were never around before, like the silicon of a can can cause anaphylactic shock now. it's becoming, I think, more apparent that a lot of the synthetics and, I mean, it's dead of winter here and I'm seeing watermelon on the shelf and I'm going, who wants watermelon in the middle of winter? But everything's kind of engineered now and we have things at the ready. And you have to ask, is it always good for us to have those things at our disposal? And I think another thing that people forget, especially when it comes to a lot of problem skins, is that you're right. It's not so much that you now have an overabundance of bad bacteria. Everyone has Dermadex mites. Everyone has P. acne bacteria or C. acne bacteria, whatever we're calling it now. It is when there's that imbalance or something else going on that we start to see those problems arise. You actually have that ecosystem happening whether you like it or not. I hope no one's feeling itchy or scratching themselves now.
Not at all. It is a strange thought, isn't it?
It is. And especially when you see pictures of, what lives on our eyelashes. And
it's quite amazing, isn't it? It's quite a revelation.
But I say, in the right proportions, they're all our friends. Look after them.
Yes, absolutely. I try. So obviously we've touched on why microbiome is important and some of the disruptors. When it comes to skin health, are there any main disruptors that you guys see day to day, or you go, oh no, cringe, horrible? I mean, obviously we spoke a little bit about preservatives and some alcohols and things that can throw everything off balance, but are there any real contributors that you see
that can affect the microbiome? That's a really good question, actually.
Probably do you want to answer that, Linda? I probably go. I think again in our usual way, we're not going to answer your question directly at this stage.
It's all very indirect. Yeah. So, do you mind if we go back a step, Lashana?
By all means.
Good. The first research paper we brought out in 2017, it was actually more of a literary review, showed that on average, everyone in the developed world has this suboptimal skin microbiome. And that's comparing to agrarian cultures which haven't been exposed to Western practices. So we looked at some previous studies of, I think it was in the Amazon rainforest, was it? We looked at a few tribes who'd had very little to no contact with the outside world. And that was fascinating. But this exactly, out of interest, mirrors the findings for the gut too, showing how everyone in the West has a suboptimal gut microbiome. That's what we were saying, really. So that was the question in our minds was, is there must be something in the environment in the developed world that agrarian cultures don't encounter? Why is there this huge difference? And if we could find out what it was that was causing the damage, I'm getting around to answering your question now, whether it be what we're eating or putting in our skin or even something else altogether, then we would know the way back potentially to having this beautiful and healthy, well, we call it agrarian, or even we sometimes say caveman skin, the natural healthy skin.
Yes,
I'll let you answer the question.
All right, yeah, let's come back. I suppose you better answer the question. Okay, so that I think that just lays the sort of the groundwork and the background for later research in 2019, because our conjecture, as we keep banging on about, is that we think it's these synthetic ingredients, these synthetic chemical ingredients, artificial ingredients, which are the problem. And so what we did is we did this research with the Medical University of Graz in Austria. And this really was very interesting. It revealed that face and body wash products containing artificial chemicals all maintained this suboptimal Western skin. Okay, only products without synthetic chemicals, which were 100% truly natural, improved the skin barrier condition and actually started improving the biodiversity of the skin microbiome. And so, this very much supports this research we did. We regard it as very groundbreaking, and it does back up other research as well, supports our conjecture that it is very likely, we can never say is definitely, you can never say definite any of this, it's very likely that artificial ingredients in everyday cosmetics are probably a major contributor to the suboptimal skin microbiome in the developed world, and that's really where we come in. It should be said, that the body's a extremely complex thing, and so it's never.
I was going to say, yes, it's never one cause, as I'm sure you know. Everything is so complex and so interrelated, and there are so many different elements, aren't there? Environment and so on. What you eat, as we've said, what you put in your skin. So,
so as you alluded to before, in terms of whole body health, but what we're saying here is that it does look as if synthetic cosmetic ingredients, can be a tipping point, which can really, do damage your skin microbiome and can have a knock-on effect right across the body, including on the skin.
And I mean, out of interest, our starting point was my skin, and I actually think, we talk about junk food all the time, and I think I had junk skin. That's what we, I look back and think it was the same thing, really. I was putting, bad things on my skin, just like people put bad food, eat bad things, and
exactly. So
I had a case of junk skin.
Just as junk food has been shown to actually, give you suboptimal gut microbiome. If you put junk cosmetics on your skin, things full of synthetic ingredients, then it's going to have the same effect.
And I think most of our listeners will resonate with that, because most of us are business owners or skin therapists and people that look at skin day in, day out. And we know straight away when people are using that suboptimal skincare, they're coming in with that horrible makeup that they wear, and you look at it and you go, oh no. You kind of cringe on the inside.
Of course, they must be seeing, all your listeners and must be seeing it every day, mustn't they, in their salons and practices? Yes, you're quite right.
Yeah, and it makes sense that, junk food, junk skincare, and we've seen the effects that it can have. But obviously taking it next level is you guys talking about that microbiome and how to get that ecosystem stabilized and working for you to create beautiful, healthy skin. And going back to the gut, I think, even for me, when I go out to dinner, lunch, anything, the amount of people with food intolerances and food issues now is growing exponentially. I'm actually a Crohn's disease sufferer. Oh, wow. And I'll go to dinner. But I'll go to dinner and I never have to worry, because I've got a celiac over here and I've got someone that can't have fructose and onions and stuff over here.
I see what you're saying.
I've got someone that can't have. So while mine's fairly autoimmune, that friendship group of everyone that's got stomach issues and growing, and even one of my close girlfriends who's a gym junkie, watches everything that she puts in her body, even she now, unknown why, is starting to experience all these gut symptoms, and they're very similar in severity to mine, which is a little bit alarming,
really,
but it's starting to become much more common for people to have skin issues and gut issues.
Yes,
we really must. Sorry to interrupt, Linda. Just saying, we really must try. This is a big thing we're talking about, that whole body health. Okay, although these issues might manifest themselves in the gut or the skin, it's often, it's the system elsewhere which is breaking down, which often causes they're not always topical problems. So we know even we, although we are obsessed with the skin microbiome and the skin and our products, we do realize that if you have a skin problem, it's not always just related to the skin. There could be a malfunction of the system elsewhere, and this goes, as we've alluded to as well, it goes the other way. So food intolerances, as you described it, can often be related to a suboptimal skin microbiome and other microbiomes elsewhere. So,
but as you say, there's a horrifying increase actually in people suffering from allergies, sensitizations that we never have found, even going back a few years. So yes, it's got to be really all the things we've been talking about.
Yes, and I think to conclude what we were saying before is these artificial cosmetics, ingredients, chemical ingredients, are a major contributor, not the complete cause, but a contributor.
It's a big piece of the puzzle, I think. I mean,
That's
we can
the way
throw
to
in
put
things
it.
like lifestyle and stress and all the other things that our now fast-paced and Western culture bring. But it's definitely, I think, a big piece of the puzzle.
That's a nice way to put it. A picture again. I know that you're quite right.
It always has to be an analogy.
keep them coming.
Yeah, I love them. Now, obviously, we've spoken a little bit about the skin conditions that can come from having a disrupted microbiome. Obviously, we see a lot more angry skins, inflamed skins. From a microbiome upset, disrupted perspective, are there any telltale signs to know that that skin's ecosystem is unhappy compared to maybe another issue like stress or hormonal breakouts? Or is there any way to kind of indicate, other than inflammation, that the microbiome might be disrupted?
Well, I think it's what we always say here. I think is that. Research has shown that the microbiome, suboptimal microbiome, leads to skin problems. Okay, and so
I think Oh, sorry.
No,
I was going to say it's just a very simply put and in brief. A disrupted microbiome has been linked with all common skin conditions. That's the simplest, clearest way to put it, as we've found, isn't it? And so therefore, if we can keep up an optimal skin microbiome, and we're finding out how to do that increasingly, then we'll have beautiful skin. If our skin's healthy, it's beautiful. To us, it's as simple as that. The rest complicated, but that's I think it's a perfect answer, because we will have people ask us. Again, my background's predominantly with technology, and I used to teach people how to use skin analyzers, and we always get the question, "Oh, how do I pick up on this?" And they think it's very niche, but you have to look at the whole picture. You have to go, well, unfortunately, if the skin is unhappy and unhealthy, that means the ecosystem's not working. So it encompasses everything, unfortunately, fortunately and unfortunately. Yes,
I think you're absolutely right. I think a key part of our task, if you like, is to educate the world about this and get people to understand it, and also the fact that there's not just one quick fix solution. I always think trying to get us optimal microbiomes, like starting a new fitness plan. Okay, results don't happen overnight, but there are ways to help this process. That's the way we put it. I don't know if we've answered your question exactly, but
no, you have, absolutely.
I think,
like I said. Sorry, Linda, you go.
Oh, sorry. No, I was only going to continue from what Nick was saying, that rebuilding the microbiome is like starting a new fitness plan. If you've ever done it, results just don't happen overnight. It is a slow process. And I know this myself, because, of course, when you have a bad problem, you want a quick solution. But there isn't one.
No, and
it
as I was
sounds
just
rather
about to say, no, it's not. I think it's a great answer, because really, I mean, a lot of us now are starting to look holistically at the skin, the body, etc. There are still some therapists that kind of focus on one niche treatment, product, or skin type. And I think it's important for them to know, regardless of who your clientele are, whether they're aging skins, rosacea skins, acne skins, whatever clientele you've got walking in through the door, this information is really important for all of those skins, because any type of skin condition can come back to that skin's ecosystem and that microbiome being out of balance.
Definitely. And I mean, telltale signs, if you're looking at, you've talked about all these skin conditions. I mean, many people have what they call sensitive skin. Many people have, dry skin or red skin or sore skin. But the simple answer is, it's just what we and you are saying. If your skin's not perfect, clear, then you've probably got a suboptimal skin microbiome. So what we're saying is it's quite straightforward.
Yeah, that's right. Yes, and again, you're a little bit careful about cause and effect, if you like. You know, all these skin conditions be linked to a suboptimal skin microbiome, but then you've got to look about what causes suboptimal skin microbiome in the first place. And so, you know, and so healthy skin has got a much more optimal skin microbiome. You want to get back to there, but you also need to look at the cause of why it was suboptimal in the first place.
Preventative's always better than a cure.
Yes, exactly.
Definitely. Oh, yes, definitely. And I think that's the problem sometimes, isn't it? That if you're just dealing with end symptoms, you're kind of patching up and not even getting to the root of the problem. If you deal with the problem, it's back to Nick's problem, cause, solution. Then you know, you're going some way towards having a successful solution.
Yes, absolutely. You know, and we never make any claims about cure, or the only claims we make are that, you know, that our products have been proved to actually, you know, enhance the skin microbiome. Okay, and what people want to make of that, they can decide for themselves.
Yeah, absolutely. What can help with our skin's microbiome? What should we be looking for in our products, and what should we be using?
Okay, I'm gonna keep coming back to say the same mantra. Okay, first do no harm. Okay,
yes.
First do no harm. Don't. Okay, and just really always think very carefully about, you know, what you're eating or putting on your skin. Okay, and reducing your body's exposure to synthetic chemicals in the environment is a key first step. Okay.
And also just to pick it up again on the just because we've looked at this so much. Really important that many products labeled as natural or organic, in fact, have synthetic ingredients.
Have we mentioned that?
I think we might have mentioned that. I'm sorry, I'm repeating myself.
Repetition.
Repetition, I know. But and also, I think Nick said this already, the natural and pure part of our remit's to get the global cosmetics industry to match food standards, but Nick's talked about that already.
Right, yes. So there's again the two parts to we've really talked about that before. Okay, there are two parts to improve our microbiome. Okay, first do no harm, and then, you know, only use the latest generation of cosmetics that are not only truly natural, but, you know, can also create an environment on the skin that allows your microbiome biodiversity to flourish. Okay, and that's the key. Okay. The biodiversity is the key. Okay, and so this is why, you know, we for instance are very sniffy about things like probiotics, because probiotics by definition reduce biodiversity. You know, they are usually billions of one or two particular species of microbes, and so you're basically splurging on huge numbers of one or two species, whereas what you want to do is create an environment which is going to increase the biodiversity, which is the, you know, really a little bit more complicated than this, but really the number of different species that you actually have on your skin. So that's the key. Okay, you've got to create an environment, your skin, get the environment right, which is going to encourage biodiversity, and then you'll get healthy, beautiful skin.
Amazing. I love that. And you're right, because I mean, vitamins, probiotics, supplements, they're all starting to become very popular.
Yes.
Well, I'd just say on the skin, you know, you could say, well, I'm bound to say this, but it's interesting. We had a professor of microbiology sitting next to us at a conference probably a couple of years ago, you know, and he was saying this idea of covering your skin in one particular species or alien species. A lot of these probiotics use things like lactobacilli, which are not normally found on the skin, you know, can potentially be extremely damaging if you're not careful. You know, again, what are people, you know, what are people doing? Why are they putting these huge numbers of bacteria on the skin? But actually, on the probiotic side as well, actually a lot of these people who call themselves probiotics aren't probiotic at all. Actually, they're not live cultures at all. They're usually you know, because you can't actually sell cosmetics which are able to support live microbes anyway, so they're not actually probiotics at all. So again, you've got to be very careful about what these buzz things like probiotics, and prebiotics as well. A lot of people are doing prebiotics on the skin. Are actually just using the same things we use for the gut, yet the skin microbiomes completely different function to the gut microbiome. The skin's not there to digest food, so why are you putting on prebiotics that are used for the gut?
It's not.
No. And also, the gut is a closed system. I think that's so comparisons are, although in some ways it helps, the skin being the biggest organ, and it's open to the elements, and it's open to the effect of things coming most simple from the outside. So they are two really different
it has its advantages and disadvantages. So much as the gut is very difficult to get to, really, and so many people are saying that it's actually the gut microbiome, the biodiversity, actually is virtually set at birth. But the good thing about the skin microbiome, it's open to the elements, so it can be altered and improved very, very, very quickly. The downside, of course, is things out in the environment can also damage it very quickly.
And we really should, again, look at everything holistically. But they are very separate. They're very, very different, as you said. Our skin's not digesting food.
Exactly.
It might if it wanted to.
I think the only thing was it postbiotics came up. We were talking about very recently, which was a completely new one on me, really. But
I've never heard of them before.
No, I hadn't. But it was quite interesting. But
it has potential in so much as it could potentially create an environment on the skin which helps biodiversity. So there's something to potentially look at. But I wouldn't be dismissive of them at all. They could be something that it's not really something that I'm that familiar with.
No, I know.
No, I'll keep my eye out for them. So postbiotics.
Well, yeah, again, a new one on us. And then you hadn't heard of it either. So.
No, not at all. Not at all. I've seen more products coming out talking about biome and more biodiversity. Yes. But I definitely haven't seen postbiotics. I will definitely keep my eyes peeled for that.
No, I mean, as you say, the interesting thing now is, we consider ourselves sort of amongst the first, if not the first, to be really genuinely talking properly about the skin microbiome.
Oh, well, no, in fairness, right? No, we were the first, not one of the first. We were the first to talk about biodiversity.
Biodiversity.
Okay? Everyone else is going on about probiotics and things like this, and where people are talking about this, and now suddenly everyone's realizing that we were right all along. We were the first in the world to start introducing the concept of biodiversity and bringing the science of the gut, where everyone now realises biodiversity onto the skin. So others are following in our wake, really.
I love that, and congratulations for being the first. And I think you're right. So many people haven't been looking at the big picture and the whole picture. And I think it's a testament to the research you two have done, how far you've looked. You've obviously gone into the Amazon and looked at how different people are living, compared it to us. You've really done the research. So it's a testament to you guys having gone and done that and discovering all these new exciting things that everyone else can now start paying attention to and implementing and getting beautiful, healthy skin.
Yes, I think now the people are waking up now and realizing that biodiversity is actually the only way to do it. Try and look at. I think Linda's touched on it. If you try and look at things like single bacteria as being the solution, well, none of it actually works. None of it actually.
I think. Certainly, we said this before, at our current level of knowledge, we don't know. We're constantly finding out new things, aren't we? Yeah. So perhaps in the future, we will be able to know.
I doubt it.
No, I doubt it. I was just trying to sound.
No, I'm just saying they've given up in the gut right now.
what in being able to work out which type to add, which types of
now when you look at the gut, they say what you need to do for the gut, okay, is have a very big, professors of microbiology everywhere, they say, what you need in the gut is just to create the conditions, eat the food, which creates a lot of biodiversity. And the same applies, as you say, right across nature. So there's no surprise that applies to the skin as well.
I think it's
the first.
Yeah, we were, well, as far as the skin's concerned, we were the one going to conferences talking about biodiversity, and all these other people from these multinational companies are saying, no, that's not the way to go. No evidence coming our way.
Oh, amazing. So what is next for yourselves and for JooMo? What's coming?
Oh, that's a nice question. Well, it's a really exciting time for us because we are seeing amazing results and we are managing to help people transform their lives everywhere around the world. And it's beginning to sound like a cliche now, but that is really what motivates us and keeps us going, really. We've managed to spread and increase our team. We've only managed to reach globally through expanding our distributor and agent network across the globe. And that's really our mission, to make our technology available to everyone in the developed world. And I think, can I mention Vital Plus at this point?
Oh,
it seems
you
a
can,
really
absolutely.
good. May I? Because it seems such a good point, talking about distributors, to mention the reason our products have actually reached you in Australia, and that's due to Vital Plus and our amazing distributors. So, Frank and Lena and their team have been utterly brilliant, and they're doing such a great job educating people about biodiversity and the skin microbiome. And we're really grateful to them and love working with them. They're brilliant. All their enthusiasm and all their creative energy and ideas, many of which we've stolen ourselves. So we love them.
Thank you, guys. Yes, I'll back up that. And I think I'll just go on as well. To say, for all skin professionals, therapists and businesses, this is a huge and exciting opportunity, okay, for early movers. But it's also a challenge for the industry. This is the start of a revolution in skincare, okay, and as you've talked about whole body health, so I would say to all the skin professionals, therapists out there, get on board, as soon as possible with this. It can transform your business, and also, you do really don't want to get left behind.
Absolutely. It's a new wave of thinking, and it just amalgamates into what we're already learning and knowing. And again, most of us are starting to look holistically at everything, work alongside naturopaths and dermatologists and different, healthcare and skin professionals. I think this just adds another feather in that cap and, staying ahead of the game. Be number one.
Absolutely, yes.
I must say the feeling is mutual with Lena and Frank. They are absolutely wonderful. I know it lights up my inbox when I get an email from Lena. They're just beautiful and they're just so lovely to work with.
I agree. I'm glad you feel that way too. They inspire us, actually. That's no small thing. It really is true.
That's what you need in a distributor, isn't it? And someone that's very forward thinking. They're very innovative and very forward thinking, and that they also want to stay up to date and ahead of everything and anything.
They are, and they always seem optimistic and upbeat.
Yes. Well, I'm not sure when this will air, but actually today is Frank's birthday. So happy birthday, Frank.
Well, we didn't know. Happy birthday, Frank.
Happy birthday.
We'll all say it. Perhaps we should sing.
Yeah. Oh, gosh. No one wants to hear that. Not from me anyway.
No, nor me.
Well, guys, today has been an absolute pleasure. Thank you so much for joining me and talking everything microbiome and allowing us to nerd out on all things skin and gut health. I love it.
And have lots of analogies.
Yes, more. No, look, it's been absolutely brilliant, and I'm sure our listeners have loved it.
Oh my goodness, what I thought I knew about the skin's microbiome has just been turned on its head. I learnt so much listening along to Lashana, Nick and Linda, and I hope you did too. You might even need to re-listen to this one with a pen and a paper just to make sure you absorbed all that information. If you know somebody who would love learning and listening to this episode, please help us spread the word that knowledge is power and share it with them. Either grab their phone, open up Apple Podcasts and click subscribe, or jump into the Spotify app and click follow. Or if you're more visible on the gram, then feel free to share how you're listening over on your stories by tagging at JooMo_Australia and us, of course, at Beauty Industry. As always, thank you for your time and your ears. Until next time, stay connected.